Hey everyone, I am joined right now by Layman, Pascal, and Nick Headland to talk a little bit about this upcoming event we're going to be doing at Eudaimonia. Layman and I, of course, have been doing Metamodern Spirituality Labs at Sky Meadow in Vermont for some years now. And this is going to be the first sort of this event that we're doing out on the West Coast. And so, I don't know, well, let's start with you, Layman, if you want to give folks a sense of what we get up to in these things, and then we'll go over to Nick to talk about this really cool taking the show on the road out to Eudaimonia and hear more about Eudaimonia and all that. So, but yeah, what is a Metamodern Spirituality Lab, Layman?
Yeah, I've actually been trying to write a little manifesto on this subject so that we have a compressed way to communicate it to people. But a Metamodern Spirituality Lab is it's a retreat, it's a gathering, it's a ritual space, it's a mutual inquiry space where people who are interested in the convergence of like embodied existential transformative practice, real spirituality, living in a world that's sacred and in which you're actually changed and have access to transcendence, but also viewing all of that through a metamodern or integrative or second tier or liminal kind of a lens. Right. So it's a self-selection metric for a certain kind of person that has all those attributes. And when those people come together, there's a beautiful field creation. And what we get is kind of a mixture of physical exercises, really deep intellectual inquiry, emotional practice with each other, collaborative ritual production. And every time we do this, we pick some theme that is part of the general corpus of human spiritual and religious traditions. This time, our theme is going to be ecological spirituality or sacred ecology, and we can come back to that in a minute if we want to. But we're going to do a thing here in this sort of special one that we're doing in California, which is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do something we did at the very beginning and all the way through the Vermont ones, which is really involve the earth, really involve the ground, right? Really start from a combination not only of theory and of community, but also of the ecological complexity space in which we're embedded and embodied. So that's super exciting. Ecology has been a part of the Metamodern Spirituality Labs all along. There's as many permaculturists there as there are integralists or metamodern theorists, things like that. So this sacred ecology thing is right in our wheelhouse. It's going to be a mixture of, like I say, deep community, deep collective inquiry into the spiritual theme of ecological sacredness through a metamodern lens, coupled with all kinds of different side discussions, inner practices, meditation, delicious food, exploring the eudaimonia space. And we can turn this over to Nick to tell us a little bit about that eudaimonia space.
Right on. Thanks, Layman. Yeah, so the Eudaimonia space is there's a piece of land in Nevada City, California, which is in the mountains of kind of Northern California, not too far from Lake Tahoe, about an hour from Sacramento. And I founded that with some friends of mine about 10 years ago. And was kind of a calling, really kind of came through a stream of grace and synchronicity, kind of from a rational standpoint, it was kind of really random piece of land, and all of a sudden here we are trying to build this thing. And it's been quite a journey, and experiment in community and convening a space for people to do transformational work, and integral metamodern kind of work. So yeah, that community is really forged around this vision of kind of a regenerative ecological vision, integrating spirituality and ecology, very much a backdrop of integral philosophy, informing the whole vision. So we do a lot of on the land. We've been developing permaculture gardens and various kinds of regenerative ecology practices. We're doing a lot around fire restoration, that kind of thing. So we have a whole space there that we've been developing, and a community, a small community there, and we hold all kinds of events and retreats throughout the year. And then we also have kind of a metamodern think tank kind of wing to the whole project that we call Eudaimonia Institute. And that's just something that's emerging in the last year or so. And this event is sponsoring that, so we're starting to get into producing and curating our own events, and so we're super excited to be stepping into this new chapter where we're really offering more creative things into the space, and yeah, so that project has a lot of different aspects of it, but I would summarize it in saying that we're really focused on looking at the root causes of the meta crisis, really digging into like the worldview level, kind of behind and beyond the poly crisis. We see there's this deep level of worldview that's sort of the both the existing worldviews are the drivers of the current meta crisis, and the transformation into a new worldview, a new, more um, uh, resonant with reality kind of worldview. And that's what we're trying to work on. And we're really in the inquiry of what does radical flourishing look like in this moment of radical transformation that's happening that we call the meta crisis. So that's a little bit about Eudaimonia Institute. You can check out our website and stuff. But yeah, I mean, Layman and Brendan both just are so resonant with everything that we were doing out here in California. I connected with Layman at the 2024 Icon Integral Conference in Denver, and we had just, struck a really nice note of resonance. And I've been respecting Layman's work for a long time, and just felt like one of the background philosophies that was informing Eudaimonia Institute was this sense of really trying to weave together the best of the Apollonian world of like discipline and rigor and intellect, with kind of the Dionysian side of life, of the wild and creative and intuitive and ecstatic side of things. And it seemed very rare to like really successfully weave these things together into a synthesis. And I really felt in Layman that here's this person who really embodies that. And so it seemed like a real natural fit to start to collaborate, and that was where the vision for this was born. As far as the actual facilities go, it's kind of this cool vibe where we're immersed in nature. It's very like much in the forest, and there's a spring-fed creek that runs through it, but it's also got little touches of luxury. So it's kind of this nice balance of like kind of like camping, but kind of a glamping vibe, I guess you could say. So we've got, hot tub and um, clawfoot baths, and we have an indoor bathhouse with deep soaking tubs, a big sauna. There's a big gathering spaces, gardens, nature trails. And then we're really close to the Yuba River, which is just this absolutely crystalline, enchanted, emerald, sacred river that's a profound sort of spiritual, sacred ecology experience in itself.
I was just going to say the sacred ecology theme penetrates this stuff from so many different angles. Like you mentioned, the meta crisis. One of the most significant chunks of the meta crisis is this sort of non-alignment, an alignment problem between the human species and the ecological world. And then when it comes to religion and spirituality, nature was the primary location of human spiritual practice for the majority of our history, and even sort of underground or in a casual colloquial way around the construction of more sort of city and temple religion. I think a lot of us are coming back to it now, but we also see in a movement toward a more complexity informed human story that nature is the great example of successful interpenetrating mutually supportive collaborative complexity, and also the biosphere at its best is the great example of radical flourishing. So there's so much for us to learn at the level of theory, at the level of spirituality, and at the level of directly addressing the meta crisis as a human nature problem for the most part.
Yeah, and it was really great doing the series with you, Layman, realizing the biosphere, which in some ways is ongoing, and we might even be continuing that at Eudaimonia, because a lot of the themes that we explored there, I think, plug directly into this. Yeah, I mean, and that was such a lovely kind of overview, Nick, that I really have no follow-ups to that. It was a great kind of summary. I mean, I guess maybe one thing, if people are watching this and they're interested to picture themselves here, maybe it's worth mentioning that there are kind of different options for people. There's kind of, you can come and kind of camp in a tent, and you can come and stay in a cabin. You can, there's a kind of a diversity of things available for people who want to participate. And so it's a very cool property with different kinds of spaces available for people. And obviously, I'll link to the registration website in the description if people want to check out some of the different spaces there. But it is a beautiful, beautiful space. And I'm really, yeah, keen to deepen into an appreciation of that kind of auratic aspect of the numinous inherent in these spaces. I don't know, it's always interesting. The Greeks, had this notion of like the different woodland sprites or the different goddess of this river or this place. There's a spirit of the land kind of thing. And as you get to know places better, you kind of relate to their idiosyncratic almost kind of personalities, as it were. So I'm really excited to see to get to know Eudaimonia and the land there and the space there is going to be very rich. And to do that with such quality people and quality thinkers and quality beers at the both Apollonian and Dionysian levels is a delight. So I think that kind of encapsulates it. Yeah, I think that's a really wonderful kind of broad overview. Is there anything else you guys want to throw into the mix here to give people a taste of anything, or?
Well, I'd just like to say that, I mean, we don't want to overpromise guest stars, but the fact that we're doing this in California means we're going to get a slightly different group of people than we get on the East Coast. And that may involve some of our process relational philosophy friends. It may involve some people from CIIS and the Blue Sky program. It's an opportunity for us to really land in the West Coast network in a way that we haven't been focusing on for a while now. So I'm really excited about that part.
Yes, and there also might be a special appearance from at least half of Hansi Frenacht. That's what I heard. It's the word on the street anyway.
Cool. I always love it when half of people show up. It's always a very
Yeah,
disconcerting thing. Really, no.
Throw in three more things. First of all, uh, Nick looks great as like a shadowy militia leader. That's how he looks. So maybe we're going to get some of our right wing metamodern folks out there as well.
yeah, exactly.
Um, I think for me, from the philosophical vantage point, in terms of us being friends with a variety of different developmental complexity models, one of the interesting questions is going to be where we situate this. Like, what's an actually second tier version that isn't a regressive flatland Gaia worship?
Mm,
Right? What is a trans-noospheric biosphere worldview rather than rolling back to a kind of pre-noospheric biosphere? That's going to be a really interesting inquiry. And another thing that I'm really interested in that's sort of embodied by the event itself is I feel like the task of becoming indigenous faster is something that we face at this point in history, right? That the task of philosophers and shamans and witches and esoteric practitioners historically has been to help human community mediate its relationship with the sacred and the psychological and the ecological. But what they had was time. Right. They
mm,
had many generations to adapt to landscapes. But now the ecological system is changing. We're going to see increasing migration of human populations. We need to practice and start to figure out in an intelligent way how to get deeply indigenous to places very quickly, right? And that involves not just practically surviving there, it involves surviving as a heart, involves surviving as an intuition, surviving as a community, right? Making deep, sacred connections with landscapes quickly. So every time you have the opportunity to go to a new place and try to make that connection as deeply as possible in a short period of time, you're practicing and building up the skill set that the whole species needs to get a lot better at
mm.
fast.
Absolutely. I love what you're saying there. And yeah, and I think, every piece of land is so unique, and to connect with people that have been developing that relationship over years and really receive like a download from them about how to do that within a very specific context can be very informative of how to do that in your own context.
Mm.
So I think, yeah, I very much resonate with that. And yeah, I think the last point I would just say is that I think there's so much vibrancy that's been developed in the last 5 years or so in the liminal web, and we have so many great podcasts and online events and stuff, but there really hasn't been, to my knowledge, that many in-person gatherings where we can really connect as friends and get to know each other and drop into a piece of land and really feel the energy of a sacred piece of land together. So it feels like it's a really rare and important opportunity for us to do that work together, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So
Yeah, that's always the biggest, well, one of the biggest things for me, I guess, is that sense of connection and the conviviality, really, which just, yeah, we can mock each other and giggle on a podcast, but it's one thing to be, sitting around a table with each other and pouring a glass of wine and talking meta theory or whatever. It's a very unique kind of connection and over a host of inquiries that can range everywhere from super heady and abstract to deeply emotional and personal uh yeah, all that winds up being, yeah, for me just very much the highlight. Though, Layman, you'd enumerated three things and I think I only heard one, so are there two more?
No, the three things were Nick looks like a shadowy militia
Oh, that was
leader.
one of them. Okay.
Two, we need to think about a trans-noospheric rather than pre-noospheric biosphere. Then third was embodying and learning from the process of trying to become indigenous faster, so to speak.
Gotcha.
And all of that I put under the general phrase I've been using for the Metamodern Spirituality Lab since the last time, which is live the conversation,
Hmm.
right? We're out there, people are informed by this stuff, they're aware of these things, they're getting informed by all kinds of different models and developmental schemes and social networks, but you've got to periodically and to some degree repeatedly live the conversation with other people
Hmm.
in a place for this to have any traction in reality.
Yeah, totally. And for those hearing this who are on the East Coast and then they're saying, "Oh no, I'm missing out on this," there will of course be also a later on in the year, I think in October, a thing here where we'll do a fall Metamodern Spirituality Lab at Sky Meadow again as well. So East Coast and West Coast are covered. If you want to get your Metamodern liminal integral community
Oh, and if
fix.
people don't know, there's kind of two phases, or
Mm,
there's like a comprehensive and an essential version of the process, right?
mm,
There's a deep weekend. We're going to go into all of these sort of inquiries and perform this ritual work, but there's pre-days that you can also come for where you build up the ritual, where we get more interpersonal with each other on sort of a smaller scale, where you get more opportunity to try more different kinds of inner practice and have more repeated, interesting niche side conversations and all that kind of stuff. So there's the big one or the little one, depending on what you've got an appetite for.
yeah, yeah, totally. So, if you just want to come for the weekend, that's a really, really beautiful experience. And if you want to come early for a couple of days as well, and be part of a more expansive thing, then we hope to see you for that. But all of it's really, really awesome. Um, cool. I think I feel pretty complete about this. At least, I mean, as far as you can feel complete about something that's a teaser, right? I mean, this is all just a setup, so to give people an anticipation of what the heck is going on out there. So, if you want, if this sounds compelling, then yeah, by all means, I'll link the registration link down there. There is a link on the Sky Meadow Institute page, but that's just sort of information. So don't sign up or try to RSVP there. Go to the Eudaimonia website and register there. And we're hoping to see people out and be part of this really magical gathering. So thanks, guys. This is always good to see you, and looking forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, what could be more meta modern than feeling complete about how incomplete the teaser is?
perfect. Thanks, guys. This is fun.
Cool. All right,
Yeah,
take care, you
beautiful to
guys.
see you. See you in person soon.